make wine, you need to start with the seed. The seed needs to be planted in fertile soil, and the roots need to take hold. Yassi's roots are firmly planted in Tehran, Iran. Stephen's are from Troy, New York. The soil that a grape seed is planted in has a huge influence on the wine that is made. The influence of the soil and the climate on the grape give wine what's called terroir. It's a French word. Yassi's terroir might be described as bubbly, bright, with a lingering finish of saffron. Stephen's terroir might be described as earthy, subtle yet strong, with a hint of spandex. As Yassi sprouted and grew up to be a young lady, she enjoyed chasing cats, playing the piano, stealing her mother's makeup, and dancing to Michael Jackson songs. Stephen's youth was characterized by his love of baseball. He played baseball, he idolized Reggie Jackson, and he rooted for the Yankees, being a New Yorker. As these two grow, their vines stretched far and wide. Stephen stretched from Charleston, South Carolina, down to Atlanta, where he got a chemical engineering degree at Georgia Tech, then on to Chicago, and finally to Houston. Yassi stretched all the way over to Houston, where she too earned a chemical engineering degree at the University of Houston. When a grapevine grows tall and strong, it begins to bear fruit. It pulls all the energy and nutrients from the environment around it, and it begins to concentrate it in a bunch of grapes. One day those grapes reach their peak of sweetness, and then they're plucked, and they're taken to get crushed for juice. When it's taken out of context, this can seem kind of cruel. That poor vine just grew all those grapes, and then it got taken away. However, it's an essential part about the winemaking process. You cannot make an amazing transformation from grapes to wine without first crushing the grapes. So remember, when life crushes your grapes, don't despair. Make some wine. So we have grape juice. Grape juice is pretty nice, but it's a long way from wine. No one flies across an ocean to taste the world's great grape juices. If you want to turn a grape juice into wine, you need to have one more element: yeast. Yeast serves as the catalyst that converts grape juice into wine. You guys know about catalyst, right? All of you here represent the catalyst. Your influence and support have got them to be here at this very moment. In winemaking, there are two types of yeast. The first type of yeast is deliberately added to the wine. It is cultured and kept by the winemaker, sometimes over many generations. The family members here today represent this type of yeast. You've been with them their entire lives through your family bond, all the way from the beginning. The second type of yeast are those found randomly in nature. They're called wild yeast. The influence on the wine is random and unpredictable. In order to benefit from them, you have to be in the right place at the right time. Those of you who are here who are Yassi Stephen's friends and co-workers, we're the wild yeast. You have entered their lives at different times and under different circumstances. When Yassi graduated engineering school, she went to Chicago for a job interview. The interview went okay, but afterwards she was sitting in the airport and she struck up a conversation with a total stranger. That stranger turned out to be Doug, who's right in the back row over there. Hi, Doug. In the short span of time they had before the flight, Doug convinced her that she should apply and work at UOP, a different company, where he worked. To make a long story short, Yassi wound up passing up the job that she was there interviewing for and took the job with UOP. And that's where she met Stephen. So, after she started at UOP, what followed was many long years of them pretending not to like each other. Eventually, when the opportunity presented itself, Yassi and Stephen started dating. And not long ago, On a ski trip to Park City, Utah, they became engaged last year. It's safe to say that had things been a little different, had somebody's flight plan changed, had somebody been a little too shy in the airport that day, none of us would have been here. Just a small amount of catalyst can bring about a huge reaction. So we've talked a bit about why you're here today. Let's talk a little bit about your life ahead. Once again, I put this into terms of wine to make it easily understandable for you guys. Almost all wines are a blend. There's a good reason for that. A great winemaker can take two types of grapes that would otherwise be ordinary and make something extraordinary. The same goes for you in your marriage. There will be areas where your strengths combine to make something great, and there will be others where you will have to lean on the other for support. When the two of you combine, the whole will be greater than the sum of the parts. Seek out those areas where you two naturally augment one another. Like a fine wine, your love will only get better with time. But that won't happen just by accident. Just like you couldn't expect to leave a bottle of wine outside and come back 20 years later and find that it had aged well, you two will have to seek out an environment which allows your relationship to grow. Make time to do the things that you love and like to share together. Find new ways to enjoy one another's company, and never let go of what brought you here today. Sometimes wine gives you a headache. Sometimes your marriage will give you a headache. But don't despair. It's only temporary. When you recover, you'll be a little wiser. As you become a more sophisticated wine drinker and mate for one another, you will find ways to make the headaches a little less frequent. But just remember, a headache from time to time is expected. It just comes with the territory. Lastly, wine always tastes better when it's shared with family and friends. We all look forward to spending the coming years together with you and sharing in your joy. We all love you very much and look forward to continuing our support in the years ahead. And now for the wedding vows, Yasi and Stephen would like to read them to one another.
Yasi, I love you. It means I accept you for the person you are, and don't wish to change you for something else. It means I love you and will stand by you even through the worst of times. It means loving you even when you're in a bad mood, but too tired to keep the things on. It means I care enough to fight for what we have and love you enough not to let go. It means thinking of you, doing what you want to, leading you constantly, and hoping you do the same for me. It means that you will ride a bike with me and drink good wine with me as long as you're both sober.
Yasi?
Stephen, I love you. It means that I accept you for the person that you are and I don't wish you to change. It means that I love you and stand by you through the worst times. It means loving you even when you're in a bad mood or too tired to do the things that I want to do. It means that I care enough to fight for what we have and I love you enough not to let go. It means that I think of you, dream of you, want you constantly, and hope you will do the same for me. It means that you go to hot yoga with me, drink good wine with me, as long as you shall live.
Thank you for the rings, young man.
Thanks so much. You can have his whiskey now.
Please place the ring upon Yasi's finger.
The bride.
On the behalf of all of us here, we wish your union the absolute best. By the power invested in me, I now happily pronounce you husband and wife. Stephen, you may kiss the bride. Mr. and Mrs. Stephen and Yossi McCall.